Very much, and also convey my good morning, respect to everyone, because it is good morning here in Washington. First of all, this is very big topic, and we can discuss for days. And also for many of the historians and also the military experts or politicians and others, they will talk about what's happened in Afghanistan. It was a collective failures, and many will talk about that for years to come. Just to be brief, there are many myths and perception, wrong assumptions existing for decades about Afghanistan and also Afghanistan war. If you said it from the Soviet time, but it was before than that, because from the establishment of Pakistan, they have started these things. If you just, they harboring uh, non-state actors or those people who were, not happy with their own governments. They're trying to shelter them and to give them a space and also training tools and others, and destabilize the neighbors. For example, if you just go back, the first Prime Minister of Pakistan, Liaquat Ali Khan, he was killed by an Afghan there who was, hosted by Pakistan at that time. But his speech was against the Afghans or Afghanistan, so he couldn't tolerate it in that meeting, and he just took out his pistol and killed Liaquat Ali Khan in that time. Look to the uh, time of President Dawood, the same Mujahideen leaders, they were, sheltered there and trained, and they sent them to Afghanistan to destabilize the government of President Dawood at that time. But the government was functioning and people were supporting the government. They couldn't do that much. If you go to the examples of the Mujahideen leaders who went to Pakistan during the time of the President Dawood. Of course, then the Soviet Union time, many Afghan refugees went. There was a Cold War, and that was a different scenario at that time. So, just I will give you, in order to implement, Pakistan their own agenda or strategic dip policy to use the non-state actors. You need tools, you need organizations, you need resources. So for that reason, they have a special cell in the ISI in Pakistan system, Directorate S, which is, there was a lot of written about that. They established, and for that, they established organization, different Afghan and also Pakistani organization, for example, the Lashkar-e-Toiba, TTP, ISK, Taliban, and different other groups they established there. The reason was that they use the same tactics, which they did it in 80s, they did it in 90s, and also they did recently. For example, they didn't want to have one group because one group might have a deal, might have a, not accept their ideas or their plan and others. And that was the reason they have a different groups in each, insurgencies or each terrorist groups. You see, there was a Mujahideen, different groups were existing at that time. There was not like one front was not existing. The same was here, Haqqani Network, Taliban, TTP, ISK. So they use them for different purpose and different reasons. They use that. So, of course, in order to have use these people or groups, they use sometimes religious, means. For example, they just say, okay, we were just fighting for Islam. So they use Islam or religion as a tool to enhance their own political agendas. Sometimes they use nationalism, as a tool. For example, when they were supporting the Taliban in the beginning, they were saying, okay, these are, Pashtuns. We are supporting the government of Kabul as Pashtun has a minority there. So that was the reason they were using the tools of nationalism and that, which was not based on the facts and reality. That was, I said, is there's a lot of construct narrative existing there. And sometimes they use the local grievances. For example, in some places there's a grievances existing and they use that as a tool to propagate and to use that. So they use, if you look to the tactics they used in the 80s and now it was the same. In 2009, I wrote a paper which was established in Middle East Institute, repeating history and used the same tactics they used during the time of the Mujahideen, but with more sophistications, because technologies change and use different kind of tools now. For example, Facebook's, Twitter's, TV's access to information. This was not existing at that time. They used different tactics at that time, but now they use it with more sophistication here. So these are all, if you look to back, the reason was that if you go specific to Afghanistan, we know counterinsurgency always, if you don't have a safe haven outside, is not supporting by outside, or internal condition is not ripe, they cannot grow. So this was the case in 80s, and this was the case now. And this was, we had some, when I said it's collective failures, we had wrong policies from the Bonn Agreement, and then later on, how to run the government there, how undermining the democratic institution in Afghanistan, corruptions and just monopolization of power, and all these has an impact. We reached to this point. But in terms of Ambassador Haidari just mentioned is a peace process. Actually, there was no peace process. It was a contacts group. The peace process was not, starting, and they gave a more recognition, legitimacy to the Taliban. From the beginning, they opened the Qatar office. If you remember, they raised their flags there. So this was construct narrative by the Pakistan and also by Qatar and also by the US just wanted to leave Afghanistan. It was not for a peace process. And so that was the reason is it was not because of the Afghan forces were not capable to fight, but there were so many other factors were existing, and that was we reached to this kind of situations. Of course, for tools you use, Taliban and also the ISIS-K or Pakistan, they use different tactics. They just like target killing, intimidation, bribing. And if you remember, before the collapse of government, Pakistan invited so many political leaders to Pakistan. They just, agree with them and whatever deals they had it there. The ambassador of Pakistan was going to the houses of different political leaders, and they had a meeting with them. And so this was all orchestrated that we would like to have an inclusive government, this and that. But in the reality, nothing has happened. And they use everyone, the national, international actors for their own benefits. And they have a good structure in place. They are masters in these things. And they played this game for decades. It was not some new things was, happen. And we will see, and eventually this will be bad for Pakistan also. Because, yes, you have a control sometime, but sometimes you will lose control when there are so many actors. And so that was the reason is now they're trying to strengthen those groups which they have a close relation. For example, Haqqani network, they have a very close relation. They work together for decades. They want to strengthen their powers in Kabul, not those other groups there. So this differences eventually, create a huge problem for Afghanistan. Already we are in a problem, but of course for the region and also for the international community, because this is like franchise of different terrorist groups existing now, and to keep the interests of all these groups together, it is not easy, because if go for ETIM or IMU or ISSK or Haqqani network, TTP and others, so this will be very hard to keep all these groups together, because each one has a different agendas, different views, and also we will see how this emerging these kind of situation. Of course, Afghanistan is in difficult situation now. Like you mentioned in the beginning, the people were jumping to the planes and were falling from that. It was you have not seen it, which was very sad. The reason was that even all the borders are closed, flights are not existing. They don't see their hope with Taliban. The narrative which was constructed, Taliban 2.0 is better than 1.1 and others. This was also false things, because when they came, they removed the flag of Afghanistan, which was a national flag. They, announced their own Amarat-e-Islami, not the republics. They appointed the same old cabinet, position given to their own members. Most of them is even to the technical positions. They appointed mullahs and maulawis and others. Separation of girls, not allowing the co-education in the institution, removing the Ministry of the Women Affairs, which is they have a boards of what they call it, promotion of virtue and prevention of vice department there. So if you just go in the news, we get it, assassination, target killing. If you go to Jalalabad and Nangarhar and other places, it has happened already. So, but the perception or construct narrative, they were very good in these things, and they destabilized Afghanistan, not now, for decades. I will take more questions because of the timing, but I will leave it here. So just to summarize it, it is not new things. It is from inception or establishment of Pakistan, these things was going on. And they were good, but still many Afghans, when they leave or they just grow up in the madrasas, they don't have roots. They recruited them, and they have a different units for that, different political organization for that. And they're trying to use this still as a non-state actors as their strategic tool to destabilize and also sell it to the international community, just put it like this way. So they will sell these groups, okay, to Chinese. If you don't support us, ETIM will, be destabilize China. They will sell it to IUM. This is just like to Uzbekistan, and then to Tajikistan, and then ISSK and others to the West and other countries. So still they have like commodities, and they want to sell it to the different, buyers and different prices. This has happened, and this will continue for that. Thank you.